Welcome, everybody, to It Tastes Different Gaming News. What's on the news today? Well, you're going to get a double dose of Redfall. Redfall is in the news today, not for the best of reasons, on two different fronts. First of all, Microsoft bought the developer, Bethesda, and Harvey Smith, director of the video game, has stated that there was a PS5 version of Redfall being developed before purchase by Microsoft. And Microsoft said, all right, that's enough of that. Microsoft has come out saying, we have not removed any games from PlayStation. And that technically could be a factual statement, because it was never actually released on PlayStation. So a lot of this is stemming due to Microsoft trying to, get the Activision Blizzard deal going and completed, which they are almost there. But this is one of the things that Sony is saying that, hey, this is why they can't have Call of Duty, because they won't let us play with their toys. Even though Microsoft's saying, here's a 10-year contract, I will let you play with my toys. And financially, it's a good thing for Microsoft to put it on there for a while for what they're paying. But Sony does have a point when it comes to situations like this. Now, granted, if Microsoft really did cancel a PS5 version that was in development, that sucks for PlayStation. But PlayStation does that too when they buy companies. They cancel the competition's versions. I mean, it's nature of the business. So before we jump into the second part of Redfall's failings, let's get a little deeper into this. So, do you guys think Microsoft's telling the truth? Nick?
Maybe. I mean, like you said, it is true. There wasn't a PlayStation 5 version out, so technically they didn't cancel a PlayStation 5 version. But, I believe there probably was. So more than likely, Arcane was probably developing Redfall, had the idea that it is going to be on PlayStation 5. Now, could it be that they were that far in development on a PlayStation 5 version? Maybe not, right? By the time, it depends on how long they've been developing the game, right? Because, we didn't hear about Redfall till later on, but I mean, it does take several years for development and things like that. I'm sure in the early stages of the Redfall's development and kind of storyboarding and various things like that, a PlayStation 5 version was probably in there, as well as an Xbox and a PC version, right? So for Microsoft to say like there was never a PlayStation 5 version, I say, shenanigans on that one. Yeah, I call shenanigans on that. I'm pretty sure there was, but how far in development that was it really canceled? Once they got purchased by Bethesda, I'm sure Arcane at that point was like, well, we're probably not going to be putting it on PlayStation 5, so maybe we stop development on that, right? And then of course, whatever Microsoft says, I'm sure they thought maybe put that one on the back burner. Then Microsoft's probably like, yeah, we're not doing that, since we own you now. And they're like, okay, that's what we figured. We kind of put it in the back anyway. So sure thing. So, I mean, I think probably, Microsoft's just trying to save face. And I agree for the whole Activision Blizzard thing with the whole Call of Duty stuff. That's why they're like, no, don't, Mr. Smith, shut it. That's pretty much what they're saying right there. But I mean, it is true. It is true for all, big developer publisher houses like Microsoft and Sony and all these other ones. When they buy other studios, I'm sure Sony's done it as well. I'm sure there's been Xbox versions of other games in development. And once they've purchased the studio, they're like, nope. They did purchase Bungie, but Bungie's kind of running independent and not really quite they're into the fold of Sony, but not quite. But it makes sense for Sony to continue development on the Xbox version of Destiny. Destiny's such a huge game and it's already out there, right? And the same thing with Call of Duty. It makes more sense with Call of Duty. It makes more sense with Destiny to keep it going on the platforms because they've been on them for so long. But something like Redfall, which is a brand new IP, it makes sense that either Microsoft or even Sony would cancel the competition's version because the game's not even out yet. So, what do you think, Pat?
Yeah, I'm with you. I call shenanigans on that. I call semantics is what it is because they're like, they're pretty much like there wasn't a PS5 version, but it's because there wasn't a game yet. According to all the information I could find, the game from Redfall's been in development since like 2018, 2019. So, and Microsoft purchased them in 2021, officially took hold of them in 2021, but made notice of the purchase in 2020. So they were well into 2 to 3 years of game development by the time that Microsoft purchased ZeniMax. So I would call shenanigans and semantics on that. But Harvey Smith is probably getting a stern spanking as we're probably speaking, Phil Spencer took him around back in the woodshed and said, "What's wrong with you, man?" So I'm pretty sure that's stuff's going on right about now. They're like, you're losing some pension, you're losing some of your golden parachute, and within a year you're out. So we're probably hear in like 8 months about Harvey Smith being let go or resigning under his own will or something, even though it was pretty much you're leaving because you're a liability at this point. I can only imagine if the acquisition falls through for Activision and they cite like statements from like Harvey Smith as reasons why, and be like, "Well, Mr. Smith, get the hell out of here." They're going to say to him. But I'm with you, Nick. That's shenanigans. I guarantee you they were probably making a game. And they were like, "Hey, there's too many games that you guys are making." What was it? Ghostwire Tokyo and Deathloop that are exclusive already to PlayStation and we're not going to get right off the bat. Not this one because you don't have an agreement. And I could see them doing that, right? Because 2 of the games right after they purchased the ZeniMax came out, they were PS exclusives. Ghostwire Tokyo. I think that one was Arkham, right? That was the one that Redfall Studios did that game too. Or was it Deathloop?
That was Tokyo Gameworks that did Ghostwire.
Tango. I thought Arkham did one
Tango,
of those.
Tango.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then Deathloop. Deathloop was Bethesda, right? Yeah. So, but the whole ZeniMax franchise, whatever. So ZeniMax basically came out with 2 games right after Microsoft acquired them that were PlayStation exclusive with contractual deals ahead of the release. So there's nothing Microsoft could do about that. But they weren't going to let another one slip through. And this is just, I mean, the big title that's coming out is Starfield. It's an exclusive, and I guess exclusive to Microsoft products because it's not only on the Xbox; it's going to be on the PC. Same thing with Redfall. It's PC and Xbox. Microsoft wouldn't shoot themselves in the face that bad. I'm all for. I'm not a fan of exclusive games. I just release the game everywhere. Is the way I look at it. Let PlayStation people play it. Let Xbox play it. I'm not saying release this on Switch or anything on Switch because Switch needs to be. If you can't be on current gen hardware Switch, then make your own damn games. Is what I say. Even though I like the Switch and stuff they put out with, we're not holding back a game to meet your limited capabilities. But I think that if Microsoft released the game, it should be on PC, Xbox, PlayStation, and the same thing for PlayStation. It should be on Xbox, PlayStation, and PC as well. I'm not for exclusive titles, but I understand the business behind it. Sony's been doing it for years, and now they're crying like somebody spit in their cereal because now Microsoft is pulling out the dirty deeds like they did, Somebody shit in their cereal. And they're not happy about it, which whatever. I'm not going to shed a tear for them, but I'm also not a fan of exclusive game deals neither. So I wish they would just say, no, you got to put it out for everything. But then that would get hairy, right? If we put in another third party that comes out of the works, Sega decides to pull something out of their rear and they're making next gen consoles. And now we got to make everything that comes out on PlayStation and Xbox has got to come out on Sega. There goes the free markets right there. So, I mean, it is what it is, unfortunately. So,
yeah, unfortunately, if everything wasn't exclusive somewhere, then it would just be open, and then you would basically your fan base would have to be built on not your games; it would have to be built on your ecosystems.
There's nothing wrong with that.
I'm not really complaining about that. So
whoever builds the best interface and the best ecosystem wins in that case, and I am all for that.
I agree. All right, now part 2, the good stuff. By good stuff, I mean things that piss people off. Redfall is developer Arcane is also looking into reversing always online requirements for a single player game. They state the requirement wasn't added for insidious purposes. Anybody who uses the word insidious has done something insidious, plain and simple. Arcane is working to eliminate the always on requirement to play Redfall in single player. There are people who live in places, this is a quote, there are people who live in places where the outages or their broadbands is shitty, or they're competing with their family members because of their moms streaming a movie and their brothers on a device and blah, blah, blah. They state they are listening and they're trying. It's backlash response. In my opinion, this is a backlash response, just like it always is in this exact situation that we've had 100 times about games being online required for a single player game. Pisses me off when they do that. If your internet goes out, you can't just pop a game on because you got to be connected, because you got to prove to the man that you paid for your stuff. So, what do you think, Pat, about them flipping the script and saying, no, we're going to try to fix that because, our bad. We thought you would like it.
In this day and age, it's hard to say, right? I mean, always on is a DRM tactic, right? And it's meant to protect their property. Now, I can understand where people are coming from, that it's, they're like, hey, I can't always be on to play this game. And in my opinion, online DRM is it's unfortunately where we are because people pirate crap, unfortunately. People pirate games. And then next thing you know, one person has basically shared their copy of game with 20,000 people, and the only way to protect that is with DRM, and DRM with always on solution so that they can basically track licenses and usage and all this stuff and keep people from accessing that. But it's double-edged sword, right? If you live in a place with crappy internet, or you have bandwidth issues internally with your house with like 20 people living together or whatever, or you're in a dorm or whatever it may be, then it's going to basically mean you can't play this game because the DRM will not authenticate you for whatever reason. I don't know. I looked at this game and thought, oh, co-op shooter. That's what my brain went. My brain didn't go, this is a single player game. But because the game honestly doesn't appeal to me as a single player game. It appeals to me as a co-op FPS, and that's what I'm looking forward to in the game. So to me, that's probably why it didn't register, because when I saw this game and saw the trailers, I'm like, oh, me and 3 friends. This is an online co-op shooter. So you're going to be online anyway. But for the people who want to play it single player, then yeah, I guess this sucks for them. What sucks even more is I thought this game was going to be on Unreal Engine 5, but I don't know where I got that idea from. I thought they were putting this out on Unreal Engine 5, but then come to find out it's only on Unreal Engine 4. So I'm more disappointed than that than the online DRM. But DRM used to really piss me off, but that was back in my younger days when I was less than altruistic with my game purchases, and that's why it would piss me off. And to be honest with you, I mean, I got copies of games from friends when I was younger, and now I don't do that. I buy my games because I'm in a position in life where I can buy and support the studios that I want to purchase their games. But yeah, I mean, DRM doesn't really, the only time DRM used to really make me mad is when you have to keep the disc in the drive, even though the whole game is downloaded, so, always on DRM is kind of a weird thing. It's for a game that doesn't have a subscription model or anything like that, then yeah, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But like I said, to me, this game came up as a not loot shooter, but a co-op shooter, co-op FPS. So to me, I'm like, that's the way I think of it. Even though it does have single player capability. So what do you think, Nick? What do you think about this always on requirement for this game right now?
Yeah, I think always on requirement, especially for a game that does have a single player option, is, the developer needs to find a way around it, right? Because there are individuals who can't be online all the time. Those in the military, don't have the ability to connect all the time. And therefore, and they might want to play this game, the single player, right? Or those with bad internet or in certain circumstances, certain places in the world might want to play this game and play it just single player. And for that, developers need to think about that, right? Too many places, Microsoft tried to do this with the Xbox One back in the day, right? Always be connected, and don't you have an Xbox 360? I mean, it's like the whole Blizzard, don't you have a phone thing? It's like that, right? No, you shouldn't. Developers and console manufacturers need to think about all aspects as broad, right? And not so narrow of saying like, well, you're always online. Sure, we are. We're always connected, right? But that's not the case for everyone. So you've got to make it inclusive to everyone, no matter where they are and what type of internet options they have or abilities to connect to the internet. And if people want to play Redfall, especially the single player portion, right, that's offline, then you should make that available to them. And that goes for any game, not just Redfall, just any game that has a single player portion that doesn't require you to be online for anything other than DRM check needs to think of something else that they can do for that single player portion of the game, right? And it makes sense for the online portion. I don't know what they can do, but online, sure. But if it's an online only game, you have to, it's a multiplayer online game, then okay, that's fine. You have to play it online. But for a game that has a single player component where you can play it by yourself, again, these developers need to think of something to do that. And yeah, like Shane said, this is just them going, oh, sorry for the backlash. We're going to try to fix that, right? We try to get away with it, but oops, ooh, my bad. And when we were talking about earlier, Deathloop was an Arcane Studios game. So, that was one that was also the PS5 exclusive for them, which is now out on Xbox. And I think Ghostwire Tokyo is coming out soon to Xbox as well. Yeah, I hear in May or April or May or something like that. But anywho, yeah, that's always online stuff. I mean, Redfall, luckily it's a Game Pass game, but because it looks like might be fun. I thought it was going to be Unreal Engine 5 as well. They said they upgraded it to Unreal Engine 4 point whatever version, right? Whatever hotfix they were on. I can't remember what version.
It ain't 5. That's what matters.
No. And it said it took them a lot to do that, just that, to upgrade to that version for this game. So I guess that's as high as we get with it. But it'll be exciting to see if this game ends up being good. It is Arcane. I'm not the biggest fan of Arcane Studios, but we'll see how this game pans out. But they do really need to think about these things. And like I said, not just for this game, but for all future games that do have a single player component, need to think about this stuff.
Man, don't like their games, huh? I mean, I didn't like Deathloop myself, but did you not like Wolfenstein? The Wolfenstein game?
I liked, I like the Wolfenstein games. I said I don't like all their games. Like, I'm not a huge fan of Dishonored. I couldn't really get into Dishonored.
I don't like Dishonored either.
Deathloop wasn't. I mean, we reviewed Deathloop, and Deathloop wasn't that great. Yeah. I didn't really care much for Deathloop. Arcane's like Prey, got this,
right?
The remake.
Or the 2016, 2017 one, whatever.
The remake or whatever.
Loved it.
Prey was good. And so, like, Arcane's got a weird track record with me. Like, some of their stuff I like, and some of their stuff I'm just not a fan of. So,
I like the Dishonored series. I thought the first one was amazing. The second one was nowhere near as good, unfortunately. But it was still a fun enough game. Yeah, Arcane's a little more hit and miss, a little more on the miss probably. But they still make some really quality stuff. But yeah, I mean, this whole always online thing to me is a bunch of crap. You say they're protecting their stuff. I paid for it. That's my stuff now. Punish the people stealing, not the people who purchased. But it's hard.
But you can't say
it's
that
hard to
could,
do. It's
you
hard
could
to
purchase and then turn around and share it out with everybody. That's what they're trying to do.
If I have the disc and I want to loan it to my friend can play it. But if I'm stealing it from the internet, that's a different story. Go to their house and cut off their winkies. I don't care, but don't punish the person that's doing it right. That's my opinion. But
few bad apples ruin the bunch, because how do they tell that you are not going to be one of the people that are going to buy it and then distribute it?
Well, they come over to my house, I'll show them the disc, and then I'll smack the shit out of them. Call me a thief.
Do house calls now.
Yeah. Yes, we're from Microsoft, and can we look in your disk drive?
Yeah. We have to buy me dinner first, sailor.
That's right. But no, I mean, I understand the reasoning. I just think that they can do something different to protect themselves instead of harming the gamers. And that's just, I'm not a tech guy. You guys know that. I don't know a lot of the computer jargon. I just know that there's certain things that piss me off about games, and online DRM is one of them. So, but you guys got anything else regarding online DRM? Nope. Regarding Sony can't play with my stuff? No. All right. Well, thanks for watching all the way to the end. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, hit those notifications. And my favorite part, give me feedback. Tell me what you think. Are you cool with the online DRM? I mean, do you have really awesome internet that never goes away? No? Okay. Let us know. What do you think about Microsoft, taking Redfall off Sony's plate? They didn't want to share. Do you think it was cool? Are you pro? Are you con? What do you think? What do you think about them getting Activision Blizzard as well? I mean, that's a lot on Xbox's side, so it'll definitely piss Sony off. So let us know what you think, and until next time, see ya.